Hello everyone, it's been quite a few weeks since the last episode of this series, and I know I promised one of two aircraft would be next. There are two problems, I can't remember which one, and I can't be fucked going back through all those comments to find out which one I promised. Knowing most of you have the recall abilities of an overchromosome goldfish, I'm going to plow on regardless. This is DCS Which Plane, and that's the Viggen. Before we take a look at the history of this aircraft, it's important to examine the mindset which led to its evolution. Cast your mind back to the 1950s and imagine a neutral, non-aligned country with a population of between 7 and 8 million on the doorstep of an often belligerent superpower. This superpower has an army that's 2/3 the size of the total population of this small, non-aligned nation, so if it wishes it can do to this nation what Disney did to Star Wars. This is by no means idle speculation or paranoia on the part of the small, neutral nation. They say past actions are the best indicators of future behaviour, and in the past this superpower has fought wars with and swallowed up most of the small independent nations along its borders. They could, like many of their neighbours, decide to align with the opposing superpower, but that carries its own distinct set of disadvantages. The first disadvantage being that such an alignment paints a definitive target on your back in the eyes of the neighbouring superpower. Additionally, you have to accept a contingent of foreign troops on your soil, troops whom you neither control nor can rely upon to act in the best interest of your small independent nation. With the extra troops come changes in tactical doctrine. For example, in the continental theatre of war, it may be tactically sound to allow a smaller nation to fall in order to fortify a larger, more economically important nation. Furthermore, prolonged dependence on external forces can usually lead to political and economic instability. For example, if an antagonistic actor is elected to power, they may, during negotiations related to trade or some other issue, threaten to withdraw their troops. That's akin to a petulant child taking their ball home and ending the game, but it's not an unknown phenomenon. Finally, around that time, both superpowers were well known for their often disastrous and short-sighted interference in the affairs of smaller nations. These clandestine interventions were often triggered by one side or the other disliking a government elected to power. Sometimes the ever-rapidly increasing cycle of action and reaction between the belligerent superpowers would plunge the nation into a state of war by proxy, plummeting the nation to the depths of a failed state. These were among the dilemmas that I'm sure kept many a Swedish defence planner awake at night. Taking all the previously mentioned factors into account, the Swedes developed one of the most unique aircraft ever to enter military service. Knowing one of the most likely routes of attack was via the Baltic Sea, anti-shipping warfare and maritime patrol had to be a primary consideration. They also understood that asymmetrical warfare is the only recourse for a small nation faced with a large invasion force. To that end, the Viggen was designed to be extremely reliable and easy to service. Perhaps the biggest advantage of the Viggen reflects the pragmatism of the Swedish defence planners. They were under no illusions of the outcome of such a war. They knew the major ports, airports and population centres would fall into enemy hands. In the event of the inevitable coming to pass, it was planned that Swedish forces would fall back and conduct a relentless asymmetrical campaign against the invasion force. With asymmetrical warfare in mind, the Viggen was designed with a uniquely distinct set of characteristics. First of all, it had to be capable of short-field takeoff and landing. With the loss of air bases, the Viggen had to be capable of operating from hidden road bases with the support of small maintenance crews. It had to be fast, operate at extremely low altitudes and capable of attacking a wide range of ground targets. It used a modified commercial jet engine, toughened landing gear, and the world's first airborne integrated circuit digital computer. The Ericsson radar could be used for target ranging, terrain avoidance and navigation. As is traditional, let's delve into the top trump statistics. The Viggen is a single-seat, single-engine delta-wing aircraft with a range of 2,000 km on internal fuel. It's capable of Mach 1 at sea level with a top speed of Mach 2.1 and a service ceiling of 18,000 metres. The Viggen has a total of 7 hardpoints, 4 under wing and 3 centre. The inner 2 wing and 3 fuselage can carry bombs, rockets, missiles or gun pods. The outer 2 wing hardpoints can only carry anti-aircraft missiles. Only the centre fuselage hardpoint is capable of carrying a fuel tank. The Viggen has some very unique weapons options, including the Orbi-04 anti-shipping missile, the Orbi-05 command-guided missile, the Orbi-15 medium-range programmable anti-shipping missile, and the BK-90 configurable cluster munitions dispenser. As previously discussed, the primary role of the Viggen is maritime and ground attack. It carries an Ericsson PS-37A radar with a maximum range of 120 km. On the defensive side, it has a SAT electronic radar warning system and can carry a KB countermeasures pod for chaff and flare alongside a U-22A electronic countermeasures pod. The Viggen entered service in 1971 and the last aircraft was retired in 2005. Despite a robust export campaign, the only country to use the Viggen was Sweden. The Viggen was produced by Saab between 1971 and 1990. The Viggen is relatively easy to fly, but you can't get to know it properly without learning its systems. Due to its more or less unilateral development, the systems are completely different to anything else you'll encounter in any other aircraft. They take time to learn, but they're neither difficult nor easy. The Viggen is not suitable for beginners unless you're a fan of the aircraft and/or Swedish and willing to put in a bit of time and practice. It's not really suitable for training either, but it has an excellent range of munitions. The Viggen is designed primarily around planned attacks, so there is less scope for targets of opportunity. On the plus side, the Viggen has a rugged adaptability that very few other aircraft possess. How many fixed-wing aircraft can you name that were designed for a sustained campaign of asymmetrical warfare? How many aircraft do you know of that are capable of conducting that campaign using public roads as airfields? I think you'll find that list is short enough to get it tattooed on a spider's cock. If used with some forethought and in the correct hands, the Viggen can be devastating in multiplayer also. Finally, crosswind landings in the Viggen are a unique way of gaining exquisite control of your anal sphincter. To sum up, the Viggen is a unique, challenging and fun aircraft. Relatively easy to learn but extremely difficult to master. On that note, I thank you all very much for watching. Please don't forget to dislike or tell me to go fuck myself below.